And with that, I now call the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Tonight we'll be doing a work study session. I have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Rutherford.
Present.
Commissioner Roberts.
Present.
Commissioner Dusky.
Here.
Commissioner Yater.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Rankin.
Here.
And Chairperson Zurcher.
Here. So good evening. My name is Matt Zurcher, and I'm the chairperson of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My role this evening is to help facilitate discussion during this work study session between the various professionals that have put forth a development proposal and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Commission is comprised of community volunteers that are appointed by the Town Council to make recommendations regarding land use proposals to the Council. This will be the first time the Planning Commission has had the opportunity to learn about this project in detail. I understand that there has also been a neighborhood meeting that was held previously to give the public the same opportunity to discover the specifics of these proposals. I want to stress that no action will be taken this evening on this application, and we are all here to learn about this proposal. The Commission's work study meeting are open to the public, as evidenced by the audience attendance this evening. However, work study meetings in the past have not been open for comments from the public. Given the large volume of materials that we are asked to review as part of this meeting, I'm not going to open the floor to public comment at this meeting. But please be assured, though, that when any parts of these applications are scheduled for public hearing, that ample time will be allocated for comments from the public. I thank you in advance for respecting this meeting decorum. If you can please turn off your cell phones or put them on silent or vibrate, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. At this time, we'll go into our work study, and we have 4 discussion items on the agenda. Again, no action will be taken. Upon the application of Viewpoint 89 LLC, David McGuire, agent, the following requests will be discussed. PDP 18-005, a revised preliminary development planned plat on 2 parcels on the north and south side of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway, east of Viewpoint Drive, comprising 189 total lots on approximately 62 acres. Number 2, zoning map change 18-011, a request for a zoning map change from RCU 70 to R1L 10 PAD on the north and south side of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway, east of Viewpoint Drive, totaling approximately 4 acres. General Plan Amendment 18-002, a request for a general plan amendment from low-density residential to medium-high-density residential on 2 parcels on the north and south side of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway, east of Viewpoint Drive, totaling approximately 42 acres. Number 4, zoning map change 18-007, a request for a zoning map change from RCU 70 and R1L 10 PAD to R2 PAD, residential multi-dwelling units planned area development on 2 parcels on the north and south side of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway, east of Viewpoint Drive, totaling approximately 42 acres. Presenting for the staff this evening is Joe Scott, planner for the town of Prescott Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. The subject property, again, you received the staff brief with those detail and also answers to some questions you posed. And I think this information has been distributed pretty widely, but I want to review it again here for the people maybe watching or haven't seen this before. So, again, the subject property of all requests was part of Annexation 98A. Part of that Annexation 98A. Approved by Ordinance 474 in 1999. The existing zoning for the subject property was RCU 2A, that existed in Yavapai County at the time, and Prescott Valley adopted the zoning designation of RCU 70, being the most similar to the county zoning. By state law, property must be annexed into the town with the most similar zoning that existed in the county. Prescott Valley does not have a 2-acre zoning district, so the 70 district, with a minimum lot size of 70,000 square feet, is the closest to the minimum county lot size of 87,120 feet in the RCU 2A district. In the county, the RCU district is to provide zoning classifications for all the areas of the county not presently characterized by urban uses, and no lot parcel zoned RCU shall have a density of less than 2 acres. The Obviously, there's no public infrastructure for the most part in these county areas with 2-acre zoning, and the property needs to support septic systems, and in many cases, exempt wells. Since the establishment of the public infrastructure and sewer systems in Prescott Valley, it's developed in urbanized densities because the cost of developing public sewer systems in places like the Viewpoint and Pronghorn Ranch, it's not practical to create 2-acre lots. So the 2-acre zoning is generally holding zoning until urban development occurs, with a general plan amendment and rezoning to a higher density of units per acre. Essentially, all developed property in Prescott Valley has been rezoned from RCU 70, except for the original residential units and highway commercial that was detail zoned by Yavapai County in 1970 and was in place at the time of incorporation in Prescott Valley in 1979. Most property annexed as RCU is usually owned by a single owner anticipating urban development as either residential or commercial. Theoretically, an owner could develop a single-family residence on a 2-acre parcel if they had legal access, would have to provide their own water system and install a septic system with the county permits. Staff is not aware of any residential homes developed in such a manner on 2-acre parcels since the town's sewer system was established in 1994. This map here illustrates the areas that are currently zoned RCU as a result of annexation of that property from the county. Some of these areas are state land also, but this just to illustrate that, again, where the development occurs, you see the streets that has since been rezoned from the underlying RCU 70. So it should be noted that multiple dwelling units are also allowed as a matter of right in the RS zoning district. So in a number of circumstances, the RS district is analogous with the R2 district. And so talking about some past projects, on February 9th, 1985, the Town Council approved Ordinance 345, rezoning 637 acres from RCU 70 to R1L 10 PAD, R1M 10 PAD, RS3 PAD, and RS4 PAD for the Viewpoint subdivision. In 1997, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved a preliminary development plan for the north half of the Viewpoint that included 864 multifamily units that are allowed as a matter of right in the RS zoning district. At the January 13th, 2000 meeting, the Commission approved an amendment to the Viewpoint North PDP with zoning map change 03007, and the total number of dwelling units was 2,530 and included 712 multifamily units, none of which have been developed at this time. This exhibit here for Viewpoint on the left highlights the areas that were approved on the preliminary plan for multiple dwelling units. At the May 8, 2000 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the rezoning of 640 acres from RCU 70 to R1L 10 PAD, RS3 PAD, PL PAD for the Pronghorn Ranch development, an improved master plan for 1,440 residential units. Of the 1,440 total units, 200A were a Type B lot and 130 were indicated as multifamily units. 2017, Pronghorn Development requested changes to the original master plan associated with a certificate of assured water supply issued in 2000. The new plan, illustrated here on the right, eliminated multifamily units that were not subject to assured water supply rules of the Arizona Department of Water Resources and which can be provided by the town, and also allowed for 50 additional single-family lots. The new Department of Water Resources approved plan now allows for 1,490 single-family lots. Along with the approval of that preliminary plat, an updated traffic study was prepared to account for additional lots in the Pronghorn Ranch and future potential development. There were originally 3 multifamily parcels. One parcel was developed as single-family garden homes by Mandalay, you're aware of, at Parkview and Antelope Meadows Drive. There are no plans for a second phase. 2 remaining parcels identified on the exhibit don't propose a specific number of units at this time. However, the traffic study estimated a total of 224 hypothetical apartments located on these two remaining parcels. Again, no multifamily has been developed in the area yet. This just shows the existing zoning that exists in the areas proposed for rezoning. This is the general plan as it exists. You can see, except for the area, the commercial, community commercial, it shows it's all low density. And that's where the preliminary development plan is proposed up in the top portion. Area C is a subject property to a potential rezoning, a general plan amendment and rezoning. So some previous land use changes in the area. Application was filed in 2006 by Cody Springs LLC requesting rezoning of approximately 60 acres for the Antelope Park development, residential development from RCU zoning to R1L10 PAD. Planning Commission held a public hearing on the application at its meeting on April 10, 2006, and recommended approval of the zoning map change, along with a preliminary development plan for 177 lots for single-family detached dwellings. And the requested rezoning is compatible with the low-density designation. This is the area identified up there in A that shows the previous, that shows the current proposed preliminary development plan. And this application is to make some minor adjustments to that previously approved preliminary development plan. Cody Springs and Antelope Village LLC jointly submitted a request for a zoning map change from RCU 70 to C2 PAD on 30 acres identified here and located at the intersection of Viewpoint Drive and Pronghorn Ranch Parkway. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on November 13th, 2006, recommended approval of ZMC 06006, along with a preliminary development plan. The preliminary development plan is superimposed here in area D. And again, the ZMC and PDP are in place. Preliminary development plan can be amended in the future, subject to the Commission approval of a revised preliminary development plan. The C2 PAD allows for various commercial uses, including but not limited to retail, hospitality, restaurants, medical uses, and other general sales and services. This is the previously approved preliminary development plan for Antelope Park. And this was the more detailed plan of the preliminary development plan that was approved. And again, that's a subject that could be amended depending what uses were intended for that site if they brought a amended plan back to the Planning Commission for approval. This just illustrates, again, along with that 30 acres, additional property that's been rezoned commercial in the area for about a total of about 70 acres that have been rezoned at that area. So ZMC, going back, 18011 is request for zoning map change from RCU 70 to R1L10 PAD on the north and south side of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway, comprising about 4 acres. And again, this is intended to accommodate changes that were made to the preliminary development plan. The revised preliminary development plan on 2 parcels on both sides of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway is now for 189 lots on approximately 62 acres. The rezoning request, as shown on as Area B, is essentially a cleanup of the existing zoning boundary approved in 2006 to reflect the proposed changes in the preliminary development plan approved with ZMC 05014. They added 4 acres of R1L10 PAD zoning to accommodate the revised preliminary development plan is in conformance with the existing underlying low-density residential designation of the general plan. Streets are redesigned to allow a more efficient utilization of the site and lot configurations. Additional 12 lots were added with the approval of the revised preliminary development plan by the Arizona Department of Water Resources to obtain an updated certificate of assured water supply for the revised plan. I have been informed that a certificate has been reissued for the 189 lots. The preliminary development plan has been reviewed by town staff and Central Arizona Fire and Medical for emergency access. Antelope Park single-family neighborhoods are located along the entire north boundary of the site and serve as a buffer to proposed medium density and commercial uses closer to the freeway. This shows some traffic, and that will be discussed a little bit later. So, we're going to review work study items 3 and 4 regarding the subject 42 acres, which is identified here as Area C. This includes a request for the minor general plan amendment from low-density residential to medium-high residential on the 2 parcels, and a zoning map change from RCU 70 to R1L 10 and R2 PAD on the 2 parcels on the north side of Pronghorn, on each side of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway. The applicant has submitted a concurrent general plan and zoning map change application request for the 2 parcels on the 42 acres. The general plan amendment application, again, is for a minor amendment from low-density residential, which accommodates 1.1 to 4 dwelling units per acre, to a medium-high density residential designation, accommodating 8.1 to 15 dwelling units per acre. The zoning administrator has previously determined that the request does not meet the criteria or acreage thresholds to qualify for a major amendment under Section 11.2.2 of the general plan. The concurrent zoning map change application requests a change on the 42 acres from RCU 70 to R2 PAD, which is consistent with the proposed medium-high density designation, land use designation, should that be approved first. The town's general plan 2025 establishes guiding principles, goals, policies, and blueprints to guide the town's development. The updated and revised general plan 2025 was adopted August 9th, 2012 with unanimous vote of the mayor and council, and after consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission at 2 public hearings. The plan was ratified by voters, a regular scheduled municipal election on March 12, 2013. Adoption of the General Plan 2025 enhances the Council's ability to take advantage of future possible economic development opportunities, and the plan refreshes the town as a snapshot of the current characteristics and demography. The General Plan is intended to be a fluid document that can adapt organically to the town's adopted goals and policies. And the General Plan was prepared and adopted in 2002 originally, and then subsequently updated as the General Plan 2025 in 2012. The land use designations that were adopted were assigned to be consistent with the underlying zoning at the time, and were not necessarily intended to represent all future land uses. The current low-density designation was appropriate for the underlying RCU 70 that existed at the time of annexation. This was also the case for the community commercial designation that was assigned to the 24 acres zoned C2 PAD. There are several factors that suggest that this is from the general plan, that there are factors that suggest that periodic amendments to the general plan can be beneficial to the community. Conditions will change over time, and socioeconomic conditions of the community continue to evolve. Economic conditions will change that might necessitate a change in the Prescott Valley General Plan. Additionally, a general plan for the entire community, by its nature, is very general. Looking at a specific parcel or area of the community allows for a greater level of detail and may provide additional information that contradicts the general policies and details of the general plan. The medium-high density residential provides for densities, again, of 8.1 to 15 dwelling units per acre and accommodate attached single-family homes, apartments, townhomes, and condominiums close to employment and service areas and transportation, and to buffer low-density residential areas. Zoning districts compatible with the medium-high density residential designation include the R1M, the mixed housing, and the R2 multiple dwelling units. Proposed rezoning to R2 PAD is consistent with the medium-high density designation should that first be adopted. The report includes several examples of goals within the general plan that apply to this project. Regarding the rezoning, ZMC 1807, the purpose of the R2 PAD designation zoning district is to provide for development of multiple family residences in an area where a high density of housing is desirable within the densities of the underlying general plan designation. Also allowed are all principal and accessory uses and structures permitted in R1L and R1M districts. The R2 PAD zoning would allow for diversity of housing products. The applicant is currently exploring several options, including 1- and 2-story townhomes, and they'll discuss this later in their presentation. Again, they'll propose maybe a group of homes as a bungalow style, grouping of attached and detached single-family luxury homes that would be akin to compact single-family subdivision offering centralized amenities for residents of the development. A mix of housing types is intended to provide proportional ratios of low to medium-high density residential products, support a transition from high-intensity traffic corridor and 24 acres of the commercial to low-intensity use, intended to provide a transition buffer from the nearby highway and planned commercial projects. Again, part of the rezoning, the PAD overlay proposes modifications and allows modifications to development standards such as lot dimensions, building height, setbacks, parking, lot coverage, intended to provide flexibility in design, establish the development character, encourage variation, establish sense of place, and promote the efficient use of land. In conjunction with a rezoning, approval of a specific preliminary development plan for any development phase will be reviewed by the Planning Zone Commission or be required as a condition of approval to be brought to the Commission for review and approval at a later time. A preliminary development plan, which shall contain necessary written and graphic information describing the general nature of the proposed development, and shall contain, among other things, at a minimum, a conceptual site plan for each building site and common open areas, showing the approximate location of structures, buildings, and improvements. Each site plan shall also include open space around buildings and structures. Preliminary development plans and elevations of all building types would be a part of a preliminary development plan submittal and approval. In your packet, you had reports of the 2 neighborhood meetings that were conducted. I won't provide a lot of detail on that because I think everybody's probably aware of what those meetings were and how they were conducted. As a result of those meetings and trying to get information to the Commission, staff did propose this work study session in order to provide more detailed information from staff and from the applicant. Since well, you're also aware that since the neighborhood meetings, staff received a petition signed by many of the area residents. This was provided to the Commission with their brief explanation of what they were signing on to. A lot of concerns expressed about transportation. Along with this project, we expect upgrades to the existing roadway systems will occur to accommodate traffic generated by this project. A traffic impact analysis has been prepared and submitted for review and approval by the town that identifies required roadway improvements that would be needed to be constructed in phases during the development of the Antelope Park residential and commercial properties. The widening of Viewpoint Drive from 89A to Pronghorn Ranch Parkway is recommended during the first phase of development to assist with alleviating existing traffic congestions in the morning and evening peak hours at State Route 89A and the Viewpoint Drive interchange. And the applicant and their staff will discuss this in more detail. Development property will be graded in a manner that will allow stormwater to drain from the developed parcels into the street and into stormwater storage facilities, and will comply with all local, state, and federal stormwater regulations. Water and wastewater services will be provided by the town of Prescott Valley. The town is not designated as having assured water supply. However, the property does have a 100-year certificate of assured water supply. The town has made large investments in order to provide utilities to this area in anticipation of development and to solve some sewage capacity issues that existed with Viewpoint and Pronghorn Ranch. Because of these improvements, any development in the region, generally north of 89A, will pay their fair share back to the town for the cost incurred for the public improvements, but there is no particular time frame or anything associated with these improvements. The town does have an existing 6-inch sewer line in Antelope Meadows Drive near the northeast corner of the property that obviously connects to the town wastewater treatment plant. And there's existing water lines, 12-inch water lines, to serve the site. Along with the project, there are many development fees charged by the town in the form of water and sewer capacity fees, meter fees, et cetera, intended to support operation and expansion of the town infrastructure and facilities, and these would all be part of future building permits. So, in summary, Antelope Park includes single-family home neighborhoods along the entire north boundary of the site, as shown in the exhibit here, providing a buffer from any proposed medium-high density to the existing neighborhoods. Also provides density transition to a more intense commercial existing along the freeway. Applications for the proposed Antelope Park appear to be consistent and in conformance with the development objectives of the General Plan 2025. The proposed amendment to medium-high density residential on the property is, again, in conformance with many of the goals and the policies, and supports the R2 PAD zoning with development plan submitted with the rezoning. With that, I don't know if you have any questions or if you prefer to wait until the presentation from the applicant, we can do that. And David McGuire, the applicant, is here and can step up next.
All right, sounds good. We're going to wait until the applicant has done his presentation, then we'll open it up for questions.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Thank you so much.
Get a little closer to the mic.
Good evening. My name is David McGuire. Thank you so much for this opportunity. We look forward to being able to present this in great detail and answer any questions you might have. I brought a very distinguished team with me tonight. From Hilgart Wilson, I have Daryl Wilson, who's founding partner in that company, very renowned engineer, done many, many projects over the years. Appreciate his expertise very much. Paul Haas, also from Hilgart Wilson, is here. He's the project engineer. We also have Dr. Sarah Simpson, who is the traffic engineer on the project. Again, someone highly qualified to answer all your questions. She's the one, her firm is the one who has prepared the traffic impact analysis that has been submitted. We also have two people from Cabin Development, and I'm very excited that they are here because I know a lot of the attention has been on what product are we actually proposing. I do have a letter of intent from Cabin to purchase one of the multifamily properties. We intend to build this bungalow project that I think is very exciting. You'll be very impressed with. They'll come a little later in the presentation. And Rob Goobster, who is the planning director for Hilgart Wilson, is here as well, and I will turn it over to him to make the presentation. We will be happy at the end to answer any questions you might have, and again, all our experts are here to drill down on any details you might want to hear about. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission.
And do me a favor and go ahead and state your name for the record.
Yeah, Rob Goobser with Hilgart Wilson. If you don't mind, I just want to switch over the PowerPoint presentation real quick. Good evening again, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Thank you for their time this evening and the opportunity to discuss the Antelope Park project. As Dave mentioned, this is a list of all of our team members. Can you see what? You see what's going on? Okay. Just make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing too. So, okay. In terms of the vicinity, I know that we've all talked about it this evening. Joe's done a very nice presentation. As you all know, this is Antelope Park. It's a 129-acre site just north of 89A at the northwest corner of Viewpoint and 89A. You have both the Viewpoint and Pronghorn Ranch developments just to the north of this project. In terms of the requests this evening, there's 4 requests, as we've mentioned before. I know the chair did a very good job of outlining those projects. Projects PDP 18005, which is a revised preliminary development plan for approximately 62 acres, which is going to be a 189-lot subdivision, as well as ZMC 18011, which is a zoning map change for approximately 4 acres, or essentially a cleanup of what we're calling it from RCU 70 to R1L PAD. The other 2 applications before you are GPA 18002, which is a minor general plan amendment from low density residential to medium high density residential, as well as zoning map change 18007, which is a request to rezone approximately 42 acres from RCU 70 as well as R1L PAD to an R2 PAD. I'm going to talk about the first 2 as they correspond with each other, and then I'm going to touch on the second 2 a little bit later on in my presentation. Just real quick, I'm going to run through some of the context of the area just to kind of set the stage for you. Overall, again, Antelope Park is 129 acres in size. As you're probably aware, it's a vacant site, except for the Pronghorn Ranch Parkway that bisects the property from the western boundary up to the northern boundary and ties into Antelope Meadows Drive. The site, again, is vacant with some rolling topography gently going from the northwest down to the northeast corner of the site. The southern boundary, basically the entire southern boundary, is 89A, which is a heavily traveled transit corridor. The developments of, again, Viewpoint and Pronghorn Ranch are along the northern boundaries and largely vacant on either side, both the west and eastern sides of this project. On the south side of 89A, you have various single-family residential as well as a manufactured home community. There's also some areas of commercial that are just south of 89A at the intersection of Viewpoint Drive. We'll walk you through the general plan. I think it's really key to show what's the existing general plan called out for in this area. In terms of the Antelope Park project, it's outlined in red. There are 2 residential land use categories for our site, which is low density residential as well as community commercial. Walking you through the surrounding area, going from the north, going clockwise around our site, there is medium density residential, as you see in a little bit of the darker beige, darker brown. I don't know exactly what color you want to call it, but then also there's a little bit lighter yellow, which is the low density residential. A little bit further north of that, there's also some pink areas, which are your community commercial, those areas that are located within the community of Viewpoint and Pronghorn Ranch. So there is some areas called out for commercial. There's also some areas that are called out for open space as well. Traveling to the east of our site, a little bit, it's basically open space at that point in time. As you go south of our site, south of 89, there's various land use categories, including medium density residential. There's various public and open space land use categories. There's, again, commercial at the intersection of Viewpoint and 89A, as well as some medium high density residential, as you can see in the darker brown areas. And then traveling back up to the west boundary of our site, there's some commercial, as you can see in the pink, and there's also some low density and open space categories. And zooming into our site, as I alluded to, there is 2 land use categories for our site right now. One is the commercial, so there's a large portion of commercial, approximately 24 acres, as well as the remaining site is low-density residential. In terms of the existing zoning, again, going clockwise around our project from the north, in the Viewpoint and Pronghorn Ranch zone developments, there's R1L, which is your residential limited. There's also areas of residential single-family mixed use or mixed. There's also in the more of the purple areas, that's RS, which is your residential and services. That's an area where you can get a little bit more intense in terms of your densities, your residential densities. It also includes a commercial or retail component in there too. So there is a large component of that within those developments up there. There's also some areas that you can see in the red, which are commercial, which are reflected back on the general plan land use map that I showed you previously. And again, there's also some open space. To the east of our site is RCU, which is another kind of a lower density residential, more of that holding zone. South of 89A, you have both C2, again, that calls out the existing commercial. And then on either side of that, you have the residential manufactured home, which again reflects the manufactured home district down there. And there's also some R2 down there as well. To the west of our site, you have a large portion of that site that is zoned currently as commercial. As Joe had shown in his presentation, there's 50, 60 acres of commercial in that entire area that is zoned at this point in time. And then also there's a small area of open space to our west. Just kind of diving down into our site again, we have 3 zoning categories. Along our northern boundary is the R1L10 PAD, which is subject to the preliminary development plan this evening. There's also an area of RCU 70, which is the 2-acre equivalent when it was annexed in, so about 70,000 square foot lot minimums on that holding zone, as well as the C2 PAD, which is at the southwest corner of our site, coupled with the additional 6 acres that is just off of our site of commercial adjacent to Viewpoint. I think it's really important to kind of reiterate how we got to the zoning that we have today on our site and kind of outlining the history. Back in 1999, the site was annexed into the town. That zoning was applied as RCU 70. Again, it needs to pick up the equivalent zoning of what was in the county, which was the R2A, which is the 2-acre lot minimums. The closest equivalent zoning district with the town at that point in time and today is the RCU 70. So the entire property was zoned as that RCU 70 when it was taken into the town. In 2006, the property, about 60 acres of the site, was rezoned from RCU 70 to the R1L10 PAD, which you see today, which is in the yellow along the northern boundary. There was the original PDP for 177 lots of single-family residential for that area. And then also in 2007, there was a rezone from RCU 70 to the C2 PAD for the 30 acres. So not only the 24 acres that's on our site, but the 6 acres that is adjacent to our site to the west. So as you can see, even though the site was brought in as RCU 70, it was just a holding zone until development proposals were coming in, and then the zoning was adopted at that point in time to reflect what the development proposal was for. This is just 2 images of the previous PDPs that were approved for the site. As you can see on the northern boundary is the PDP for the single-family residential in the R1L10 PAD area, as well as the 30 acres of commercial with the what's basically called out at this point in time with a commercial designation. And it was planned for about a 55,000 square foot grocery anchor, as well as some inline retail, some pad sites in the parking area closer to Pronghorn Ranch to the parkway. And then to the east of that, it was planned for some garden offices. So that's the PDP that was approved for that rezone when it came in. So there are some intensity of uses there with that C2 for the overall Antelope Park area. So at this point, I'm going to jump into the first 2 requests. Again, that's the PDP for the single-family residential, as well as the zoning map change for a cleanup of approximately 4 acres. As you can see in the image before you, I just want to touch on the zoning map change first. As you can see highlighted in the green, there's 2 little areas of cleanup. Again, it's reflective of what was previously approved with the PDP for single-family residential and the zoning that had occurred as well. The zoning lines that are there today are reflective of a circulation plan that kind of had a curved roadway that came off the western boundary down into an alternate alignment of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway. So that curved area that you see in that was a previously planned roadway. There was also another roadway that was planned to tee off Pronghorn Ranch down into 89A. So that's why you see a lot of those lines, both the curved line as well as some angled lines down in Parcel A. What we're proposing today is a zoning map change, again, for the 4 acres, rezoning from the RCU 70 to the R1L PAD, just as a cleanup, because that street circulation, it didn't occur that way. And what we're trying to do is, again, reflect what we feel allows for a little bit more of an efficient design with our PDP. Looking at curves and looking at tight angles like we have on both parcels B and A, it doesn't make for an efficient design. So the zoning map change is just a cleanup for those. In terms of the PDP request, Joe did a very good job summarizing that, but I just want to touch on it real quick. We have 2 different lot sizes, 2 different areas, both parcels A and parcel B. Parcel A on the right side, it is approximately 28 acres, about 82 lots in Parcel A. Minimum lot area is just about 6,300 square feet in size. Lot sizes are going to be 55 by 115, and again, that's for single-family detached residential. Parcel A will take its access from Pronghorn Ranch Parkway. Working with the city or the town, it is required to have a secondary emergency access. So Parcel A will have a secondary emergency access up to Antelope Meadows, as you can see kind of up in the upper right corner of Parcel A. There will be some various areas of open space within Parcel A, as well as the ability of a drainage channel up along the west and north side of that to help convey stormwaters in the area. Parcel B, 107 lots for Parcel B. The lot size is a little bit larger. 7,800 is your minimum lot area on that. Typical lot dimensions, 65 by 120. Again, single-family residential, detached residential on that. Parcel B will take its access onto Pronghorn Ranch Parkway, and their secondary emergency access will be just a little bit further north of the main entrance into the development, and will access onto the same roadway. Internal to the site, again, some areas of open space, retention, and again, as with Parcel A, Parcel B will also have a nice median entrance into the development. The images in front of you are just a representative example. I just want to kind of give you a flavor of what might come forward at this point in time. We don't have a developer or a builder in tow, but I just want to show you what may occur on the site in terms of the larger lots, the 65 wide lots. The 3 images on the left, as well as the 2 on the center, are a little bit larger product that could be accommodated on that 65 wide lot. Very nice homes, very ornate, very detailed. On the right side of the image, with the 4 on the right side, those are a little bit smaller homes. Again, still very nice homes, but a little bit narrower that can be accommodated on the 55 wide lots. Again, this is just a representative example, but again, want to provide you with an understanding of what might occur on that site. The second portion of the request is items 3 and 4. It's for the general plan amendment from low-density residential to medium-high-density residential, as well as the zoning map change from RCU 70 to and RCU 70 and R1L PAD to R2 PAD. That's for an overall 42 acres, as you can see highlighted in the purple in the inset exhibit up on the upper right corner. The minor general plan amendment, again, is for the 42 acres. I've got two images there showing the existing and the proposed. The low density, the change from low density to medium high density residential will accommodate anywhere from a range of 8.1 to 15 dwelling units per acre for the overall site. Could accommodate various product types. That could be any from single-family homes, both attached, detached. It could be townhome products. It could also include apartments, and it could include condominiums. It could also include one of the products that we're going to hear tonight from Kevin, which is a bungalow type of product. Compatible zoning categories for the medium to high density residential is the R1M zoning category, as well as the R2, which is what we're proposing as part of this, the minor general plan amendment, as well as the rezoning application. The zoning map change, again, from RCU 70 and R1L 10 PAD to the R2 PAD. Against the 42 acres as what we're requesting as part of the minor general plan amendment. The changes again to the R1L10 reflects the new changes that occurred with the PDP and the previous two cases, and the proposal that we have with the R2 PAD is in conformance with that general plan land use category of medium high, which we're requesting. In terms of the development standards that will be associated with the R2 PAD, again, the specific PAD standards are going to be based on the product type. The way we're going to have our development table set up, it will accommodate those different types of residential categories that I spoke of earlier. It could be your single-family, detached, and attached residential. It could be your townhomes. It could be the product that we're working with Kevin on the bungalows project. So we're going to have a diversity of development standards to accommodate the future development that could occur within that R2 PAD. So we're going to write it with to allow for the maximum development capacity or capability within that R2 PAD standards. Under the existing R2 designation right now, that if we didn't modify it with the PAD, the existing R2 standards allow for 3 stories up to 35 feet in height. We're going to be requesting as part of our PAD to limit those stories to 2, no more than 30 feet in height. So we're going to do a self-imposed limitation as part of our PAD that we're bringing forward. Obviously, that's something that we've heard from the neighbors. There's concern about the additional height, and we just want to make sure that as part of our PAD, we reflect that within our standards. As part of the PAD, also, we will be capping the development standards at a maximum of 15 dwelling units per acre. That will be reflective of the general plan land use category that we're requesting as well. The development standards will also allow for either sale or leasable units. It could be, your single-family residential attached product. It could be your townhomes that you want to purchase outright, or it could be something that you sign more of a long-term lease on. The development, when we move forward with development, there will be required a preliminary development plan and final development plan as part of the rezoning application. We've been working very closely with the town staff on that one as well. In terms of supporting this request, the changes that we're requesting are appropriate land use planning. They're indicative of land use planning that you see throughout the nation in terms of understanding that our site is encumbered by both a 24-acre commercial site, so it's a higher intensity commercial retail designation, as well as our entire southern boundary is 89A. Again, it's a highly traveled traffic corridor. So you do not plan to put single-family, large lot residential adjacent to those two land use types. So what we're proposing as part of this, again, is to do a step down of intensities. So we're going to step down from the higher intensity commercial as well as the higher intensity 89A corridor in terms of adding a more higher intensity or a higher density residential category at this point. So you step down in intensities because you do not want to have single family adjacent to or single family detached large lot against those uses. So we step down intensities. From there, that provides a little bit more of a buffer. So you go from commercial traffic to higher density residential step down to your lower density residential, and then along our northern boundary, which you have your R1L10 PAD and your PDP that we're proposing this evening, those act as buffers in between each other. So that's part of this request this evening. Again, it's all back to appropriate land use planning in accommodating those encumbrances that we have to work around on our project site. The RCU 70 category, again, is what staff alluded to as a holding zone. Again, it was brought in as part of the annexation. That's what the project was assigned with, RCU 70. It's been changed several times since then. It's been rezoned to R1L10. It's also been rezoned to C2. Now we're just bringing in another development plan forward to modify that RCU 70 holding zone to an R2 PAD, which would address the development proposal that we have bringing forward. Again, the RCU 70 is not intended to be in the urban areas. It's very clearly spelled out that it's not an urban zoning district. This area is obviously transitioning. It has transitioned a lot with commercial, with the 60, 70 acres of commercial adjacent to our site. On the south side of 89A, you've got commercial, you've got the R2 district, you've got some manufactured home developments as well. So this area is not a rural district that should accommodate the RCU 70. It's more in terms with the R2 district that we're proposing. The proposal also creates a diversity of housing product that is not that's lacking within the town right now. As part of our proposal with working with Cavan, we're going to bringing forward the bungalows type of product, which is your single story, more of an apartment type of complex, as well as townhomes is what we're also looking at as well. These are products that are not within this area, not within the town as well. So. And also, by bringing forward a diversity in housing product, we're addressing some of the vacancy needs. Obviously, there's a very low vacancy rate within the town. There's a need for diversity of housing product. And as Joe had mentioned, this request meets multiple goals and policies that are part of the adopted general plan. In terms of the infrastructure and improvement, I'm going to touch on these just briefly. If we need to dive into them a little bit deeper, we've got some more of the resident experts on the engineering side of things. So in terms of the water for this area, for the Antelope Park project, both the R110 PDP that's moving forward, as well as the R2 area that we're asking the rezone to, the water will be served by the town. There is a 100-year certificate of assured water supply for the single-family PDP that, as was mentioned this evening, was just reissued as of last week for all of the parcels within Antelope Park. There's existing water lines that have already been installed by the city to provide water to the site. Right now, they're basically at either boundary at Viewpoint on Pronghorn, as well as at the northern boundary off Pronghorn and Antelope Meadows. So there is infrastructure that was already planned for to accommodate development on Antelope Park, in Antelope Park. The water lines will be connected through this development, which will create an important link to the system in the area. There will also be development fees that will be collected by the town when we connect to the system, and there will also be reimbursements that will be collected. In terms of the sewer, the existing sewer main is in Antelope Meadows Drive. So as kind of the grade goes, we will also be able to connect to that Antelope Meadows Drive and be able to sewer this entire development up to Antelope Meadows. There is existing capacity within the Prescott Valley Wastewater Treatment Plant to accommodate the density that's proposed within this project. In terms of the grading and drainage, the site does slope from going from east to the northeast. So the lowest point on the site is closest to Antelope Meadows Drive up in our northeast corner of the site. We'll make sure that as we develop the site, we will grade properly and make sure that the drainage does flow to the ultimate outfall at the northeast corner of the site. All the grading will convey the water. We'll take care of retention sites within the R1L10 PAD areas, both parcels A and B, as well as any other additional retention needs when projects are proposed. In terms of the traffic, I'm going to walk you through the 4 phases that are being proposed. When I talk about the phases, I'm going to start with the 2 single-family home developments that are along the northern areas. That's the PDP that's proposed for parcels A and parcel B. Just so you know, a traffic impact study was prepared for Antelope Park. As a result, the intersections were studied and will operate satisfactorily with the proposed recommendations that I'm going to run through right now. In terms of phase 1, with the single-family developments, the projects will be required to construct right and left deceleration lanes at the site access points onto Pronghorn Ranch Parkway. So it's basically called out in areas A and C. We will also increase right turn storage for northbound Viewpoint Drive motorists that are going to turn right onto Pronghorn Ranch Drive. As you know, right now it's a pretty short area for that right turn lane. We're going to increase the storage on that area. We're also going to widen Viewpoint Drive south of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. And we'll also review signal timing at 89A Viewpoint Drive interchange and the Viewpoint Drive Pronghorn Ranch Parkway intersections. And that's all part of phase 1. As part of phase 2, which includes the lower right medium high density residential category that's just north of 89, we'll construct right and left deceleration lanes at the site access points onto Pronghorn Ranch Parkway. As the medium high density parcel that develops just north of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway, we will construct right and left deceleration lanes at the site access onto Pronghorn Ranch Parkway. And we will also widen Pronghorn Ranch Parkway from 2 lanes to 4 lanes from Viewpoint Drive all the way to Antelope Meadows Drive. We will work closely with the town on that to make sure that we take care of our necessary requirements within Antelope Park, within the Antelope Park development, and then discuss the improvements that need to occur both north and to the west of our that are offsite of our project. As with phase 4, which is the commercial parcel, we'll construct right and left deceleration lanes at the site access on Pronghorn Ranch Parkway. There will also be dual left turn lanes from southbound vehicles at the intersection of Viewpoint Drive and Pronghorn Ranch Parkway. We'll also evaluate the turn lane lengths at State Route 89 and Viewpoint Drive interchange, and signalize Pronghorn Ranch Parkway and the access E, which is just north of the commercial parcel, when the warrants are met. That's a brief review of the traffic. If we have any additional questions on that, I'd be happy to have our traffic engineer address those as well. Now, in terms of civic engagement for this project, obviously there's a lot of interest in what's going on this. We've had several neighborhood meetings to introduce the project to the residents within the area. We held our first meeting on August 22nd at the Transportation Meeting Room of the Humboldt School District. At that point, what we did was we provided a general overview of the project in a presentation format. Mr. McGuire got up and gave an overview of the project. I do want to point out that at that meeting, there was a different proposal that was presented at that point in time. There was a rezoning request for a portion of the C2 commercial, as well as the 2 medium high density residential areas that we're discussing this evening. Instead of requesting an R2 PAD, that proposal was to RS, which is that residential and services category, so an RS PAD. That would have allowed for up to 30 dwelling units per acre, a little bit more intensity in terms of the development character, could have allowed for some commercial or some retail uses as well, so more of a mixed use type of category. So that was the development proposal that was presented at that initial meeting. There was approximately 331 people that had signed in. We think there may have been a few more that were actually in attendance. Unfortunately, due to the amount of attendance, the attendees that were there, the meeting did have to be cut short by the fire marshal because of overcrowding in the facility. So with the information that Mr. McGuire heard from that, as well as the team, we went back to the drawing boards and understood some of the concerns that the residents had stated at that meeting. We went back and reevaluated that. We talked about what would be the most appropriate land use designation as well as the zoning category that would allow for that appropriate land use transition that would occur from those physical encumbrances of the traffic and the higher intensity traffic corridor, as well as the commercial that's at our corner of our development. We decided that the R2 PAD would be the best route. That would allow for us to get up to 15 dwelling units per acre. Again, understanding some of the concerns that the residents had stated about the higher intensity residential in there. Also, we've, again, capped that to 2 stories, 30 feet in height, because we did hear that there was concern about multiple stories, 3-, 4-story apartment complexes that could occur within that RS district. So we want to make sure, again, we reflected that, and we wanted to let the residents know that we heard their concerns, and that's what we brought forward at the second meeting. That second meeting was held on September 29th on a Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Instead of doing just a general presentation, we felt that it would be best to break it up into more of a small group format. We had 4 different stations that were set up with myself manning one. We had our engineer, Mr. Wilson, as well as Sarah Simpson manning the traffic, and then Mr. McGuire was handling another. So we just decided it would be best if we could try to get more of a conversation going with the residents to provide them an overview of these changes that we have made to the request based off some of the concerns that we had heard from them at the previous meeting. So with that, we had a very good meeting. It was a lot of people in attendance. 318 people had signed in. We estimate there could have been approximately 400 people that were in attendance. Some people just didn't want to sign in. So we've continued our neighborhood contact after that meeting. We want to make sure that we talk to those individuals that are adjacent or adjoining our property to the north. We want to reach out to the Pronghorn Ranch residents as well as the Viewpoint residents. We've been working with Ellen.
She's in the back.
We've been working with Ellen to go contact the residents of the first couple streets just north of our project. We sent out a mailing a couple weeks ago to have an opportunity for her to reach out, to contact them, contact her, however it may be, just to further kind of overview of the project, understand their concerns as immediate residents to this project. We've also taken as part of that request, there's only been a couple people, 2-3 people that have actually contacted Ellen on that one that have wanted to hear more information on this project. As of last Friday, we expanded those notification distances to the next street up. We wanted to see if we can capture some more individual residences up in that area to, again, talk to them about their concerns and kind of give them an overview of the project. Those mailings just went out, so we anticipate they might be getting in the mail today or tomorrow. And I do want to note throughout this whole process, Mr. McGuire's information has always been out there. His phone number has been readily available. His address has been out there. Anybody that wanted to talk to Mr. McGuire about this project or the team itself has that ability. Unfortunately, nobody's really taken Mr. McGuire up or the team up on that discussion and reached out to us to really voice what their concerns are or to work with us on this. So, again, there is that opportunity. If you do want to reach out to him, please feel free. I want to touch on real quick just a few of the product examples. Again, I talked about what could occur on the single-family R1L10 PAD area. This is a product example, just a representative example of the townhomes that could be included within one of the medium to high density residential, the R2 pieces. As you can see, these are attached townhomes, 2 stories in height, no more than that, no more than 30 feet in height. You have 3 or 4, maybe 5 residences that have adjoining walls, and these are your single family, your townhomes at this point. So again, these are just representative examples, but I just wanted to kind of give you an understanding of what type of product that we're looking that could go within those areas. At this point, I would like to hand it off to several representatives from Cavan Real Estate. They're going to talk about the Bungalows project or product that they have. As Mr. McGuire had indicated, they have entered into a letter of intent recently for this Bungalows product for the parcel in the southeast corner of the site. With that, I would like to introduce Vicki Morris and John Hamill from Cavan Real Estate at this time. They do have one project that they've recently completed in Flagstaff, as well as one in Peoria. They have 3 under construction at this time, and 3 are in the entitlement phase. So at this time, I'd like to introduce and hand it off to them.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Vicki Morris, and I'm with Cavan Real Estate out of Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm here to speak to you about our product, the Bungalows. The Bungalows is a hybrid of the multifamily living experience based on the changes in the demographics and the changes in the market that have resulted over the past 10 years. These are single-story, multifamily living units that are community-centered to themselves. They're self-contained. We have very high-end units, very high-end amenities, and are not very highly amenitized. We have, as was discussed, completed one in Flagstaff. It rented in 30 days. It was rented out. Our rents are the highest on the market in Flagstaff because of the exclusivity of the product and the uniqueness of the product. I've got 132 bungalows currently under construction in Flagstaff. I have one finished in Peoria of 150 units. I've just started construction on another 150 in Phoenix, and we have one in the city of Goodyear that's also, we're starting the pre-development phase of that. The product itself is very unique. What you see in this picture is a drone aerial view of our Peoria product. It's a community. The dwellings themselves are centered into what is a centerpiece called a farmhouse. The farmhouse is a beautiful cathedral ceiling, heavily trussed, open area with a commercial kitchen for gatherings, has a large fireplace and hearth, TVs, has a fitness center, an office space, and a business center. What you see in the bottom depiction is what we call our street scene. On the left is the 1-bedroom. These are the Phoenix dwellings. The one on the left is the 1-bedroom. The one in the center is a 2-bedroom unit, and the one on the right is a 3-bedroom unit. These are the dwelling units and the apartments in Flagstaff Market. The one on the top is our 3-bedroom. It's a beautiful apartment home with hand-plied malapai, hardwood floors, cathedral ceilings, and the depiction on the bottom is a 1-bedroom, and a portion of it is a 2-bedroom. These apartments are not rentals. Rentals has a negative connotation. A rental is something you find in a subdivision of people renting their homes. There's willy-nilly property management. You don't know who's managing it, if anybody's managing it. These sites are managed by professional property management groups. There's somebody on site all day long with 24-hour, 24/7 maintenance of the units. We pay for the landscaping upkeep. We have a monthly allowance of landscaping upkeep, watering, fitness. We have dog runs in some of them, and we have little doggy business boxes that are emptied and maintained daily. We have pools, spas, fire pits, conversation areas, and they're designed to be contained within themselves. Some of our communities are gated. Some of them are not. In Flagstaff, we don't gate, as a matter of fact. These are the floor plans for the 1, 2s, and 3s in our Phoenix product. The 1-bedrooms in Flagstaff are 737 square feet. The 2-bedroom is 1,134, and the 3-bedroom is 1,280 square feet. Very efficient, very highly appointed with high-end appliances, washers and dryers, and beautiful air-conditioned, heated, ceiling fans, and everything. They're beautiful. The Phoenix product, 3 bedrooms are 1,300 square feet, plus or minus. 2 bedrooms, 990, and the 1-bedroom, 634. They all have porches and patios. They have fenced-in backyards for privacy. This is the interior of a 2-bedroom unit in my Flagstaff product. You're looking at the kitchen and the living area in a 2-bedroom unit. This is what the depiction of our farmhouse is. What you see at the bottom right-hand corner is our pool spa area in our Peoria product with the nice grass, the umbrellas, the community center, and everything. We take a great deal of pride in our product, and all of our products, all of our bungalow sites are sited close to residential units because they blend in without sticking up like a sore thumb. It's all single story. We're at about 10 to 11 dwelling units per acre at net because we have open space, we have a pool area, a farmhouse. Someplace we have spas, someplace we have splash pads, dog areas, facilities. So they're highly amenitized. We're very, very proud of our product. And we're looking to the Prescott Valley market as our next opportunity for the bungalows product because, as I said at the beginning, the demographics have changed. These are baby boomers. These are empty nesters. In my unit in Flagstaff, it fully leased in 30 days. I have 18 professionals, 2 retirees, and 2 units that are full-time students with full-time jobs. We have an application process. We vet them and screen them, background checks, criminal background checks, credits, everything. These are professionally managed apartment homes, and we're very proud of our communities. And as people have moved into them, now in Flagstaff, I've got a waiting list of 25 for my next 132 units. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, we'd be happy now to answer any questions. We have all the experts here to do that. I just want to emphasize that, honestly, we believe this is a textbook case of good planning. We have the high-intensity uses to the south with commercial and the highway. We are buffering the medium to high density with our own single-family detached neighborhoods on the north that make the transition from those existing folks. We're not asking to put up density up against existing single-family detached homes. And we have a great plan to address all the needs in regard to infrastructure. Everything is in place to, I believe, provide what the town has envisioned for this location. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. We can pull any of our experts up.
I think what we're going to do, Mr. McGuire, is we'll take questions from the Commission for staff first, and then we'll go ahead and do questions for you. So at this point in time, I'll entertain questions from the Commission for staff. And Jill will be answering, or Richard. And then also, I do want to point out that if you do, normally we don't do this, but the fire marshal is here, so if there's any questions that are a little bit more technical, he can also answer them. So I just want to point that out. So at this point in time, we'll start with questions of staff from the commission. Who wants to go first?
Joe, when the PAD is put in for the two residential parcels, will that include how those parcels will be, I'm going to say, landscaped or braked from not only the houses on that are part of Pronghorn on the north side, but also in separation from the potential R2 property and also from Pronghorn Ranch Parkway? Will that be part of the requirement that the town puts into the developer?
Are you asking about doing some buffering from, like this product, for example, that they're showing? Yeah, a plan, the preliminary development plan would include all those features. If there's any, multifamily does have a buffering requirement.
So
single family, so there would be some buffering or.
So when it's presented to, when that final is presented to our board, then there may be some things that we can request of the developer in those situations.
Yes, we would have a detailed preliminary development plan to go with the rezoning, and you would have a chance to review that and make comment on it and provide any.
And I don't know if this is a question for you, but the two R2 parcels that are being looked at, the one that Kevin is looking at, how many acres actually is the southeast one, and how many acres is the northwest one?
I think it's on the exhibit right there. Can you see the exhibit?
No.
Oh, you don't? Okay. I can read it, or you want to? Can you just confirm the right numbers for that, please?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rankin, the southeast parcel is 23.1 acres. The northwest parcel is 16.4.
Can't make it up. Thank you.
Fireman Marshall, can I ask you?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I want to ask Fire.
Please go for it. Rick Chase. And Rick, go ahead and state your name for the record, please.
Rick Chase.
Thank you. One of my biggest concerns is the entrance exits of the fire department in case it was like the last incident we had with the fire out there. Is there appropriate roads or streets that are being proposed? Are they adequate?
You know what? Well, obviously the fire department needs access and water. That's what we look at with developments. As far as knowing the roads, if it will handle the number of units coming in, that's all done through a traffic analysis study, and that's not something we decide. But what we do decide is how many entrances and exits we need from a community.
Okay.
So as far as the roads, yeah, I don't know the number of vehicles that those roads can sustain. Again, that's all done through the traffic analysis. Anytime there's a neighborhood coming in or a phase of homes, and you get over 30 homes, you must have two means of ingress and egress from that community.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Scott, I have another question for you. With the two parcels, if Kevin Real Estate decides to follow through with the parcel that they're looking at now, is there anything that says that we can approve the change from RCU 70 to the R2 pad for the parcel that we've been presented a PAD on and hold off on the other parcel, or do we have to do them both at the same time?
No, I think what we have discussed prior to a public hearing of breaking out separate applications. So one could be acted on if one's not complete. We don't have complete information. We could act on one parcel, and so that's we would look to get an amended application to have two numbers for those, so they could be acted on separately, I think is the intent.
No, I'm really not.
Commissioner Dusky?
I'm still, I want to, oh, I'm sorry.
Either way, go for it.
I want to look at the RC 70. It needs to be approved prior to building homes, right?
Yes, and you need the higher denser zoning. So
General, just for everybody to understand.
again, that's a very low denser rural designation, and we look for the similar zoning we have in Pronghorn and Viewpoint. Well, for the single family, and then the R2 zoning
Yeah, I just
with
wanted to
a
make sure.
medium high density designation to accommodate that.
Thank you for the record. Thank you.
Yes, we got it.
Commissioner Dusky?
Yeah, my question, I guess, I'm not sure who addressed it to. I guess the realtors. Do you intend to use the entire parcel? Is that what your letter of intent proposes?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Dusky, the letter of intent is for parcel C to do a bungalow product on that entire parcel, if that was your question, sir.
Yes, that was the question.
Okay.
Any other questions of staff primarily?
I think in the presentation on the improvements done to both the Parkway and Viewpoint Drive was that if one or both of the R2 properties were to go forward, then those would automatically kick in. Am I stating that correct?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Rankin, the traffic impact analysis has been submitted, and all those traffic counts have been done based on all their voodoo that they do, and that's into staff for review now, and the staff will tell us if we're correct or not in our assumptions and our analysis, but there will be specific requirements for traffic improvements at various stages. Keep in mind, this doesn't happen overnight. So if we think this will develop in the way we think it will, the single-family detached would go first. It will take probably another 9 months from now or more before there would be enough infrastructure out there to actually even begin models to sell homes. Obviously, those homes don't sell overnight. That'll take another 2 or 3 years or whatever. So this isn't going to be something that happens overnight, and the impact isn't going to be felt overnight either. So this will be a gradual transition, and as that transition occurs, the appropriate improvements will take place commensurate with the number of vehicles per day that we are producing by those sales or by the rentals, if the case may be. So it will all be phased out over time, and the improvements that will be required will be commensurate with the amount of development, the activity that goes on.
I guess my question would be for Ms. Morris then, is if you decided to do this project, is there a time frame that you would be looking at?
Commissioner Redkin, if my boss were here, he would say we would start tomorrow. That's just how fast he likes to get things done. But no, we're highly motivated. This wouldn't be our first time doing it. We understand the development standards that come from the town for us. That would include our frontage improvements, our landscaping, how we build our roads internally. By the way, our roads internally to our groupings, our homes, our bungalows, our private roads. They're not public roads, so we keep everything kind of interior to ourselves. But we would, engineering 4 or 5 months to get our civil plans done. We can do it at risk. We have in the past done it at risk while we're running through the PAD approval process. While we're getting our site plan in for approval, we're running our civil plans. That's how much we believe in this product. And we start our architect doing our construction drawings for approval as well, too. So we kind of run it all concurrently. And like I said, once we start digging dirt, and once we, excuse me, once we start developing, we start a buzz. Our property managers start getting calls and saying, when can we get in there? And we start our waiting list. So we're looking at 9 to 10 months.
Okay, is that kind of consistent with what happened for you in Flagstaff when you
Yes,
went there?
it is. In Flagstaff, though, the development, we ran into a whole bunch of rock. Matter of fact, we became rock miners for a while, and it slowed down our development just a little bit. But as a general rule, people drive by, see what's going on, they take the tour of the model, and they wait. They'll actually talk to our property management group about put me in a temporary 6-month rent so that I can wait to get in when we can get in. So we can't build them fast enough, seems like.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Just want to ask again a clarifying question. If RCU 70 is that currently built on in anywhere in place in town currently? Or is it just completely a placeholder and would have to be changed, period, to basically accommodate any project?
I can look it up, research it specifically, but I think there were instances where there were existing, maybe some residents at the time of annexation, when we didn't have a sewer system. So I think there may be a few homes out there that were annexed that were developed in the county, again with probably a well and septic system. But again, I'm not aware of anything since the sewer system.
I'm fairly familiar with the question. There is one property north of Viewpoint, which is annexed into the town, that was a 10-acre horse ranch that currently has been developed, was developed in Yavapai County, has been annexed, and it is the only example that comes readily to my mind where we have development on RCU 70. Again, that's a 10-acre parcel. It pre-existed annexation, and it continues to operate as a horse ranch today.
Thank you. Go for it.
The person that's handling the traffic study, I have a question. Pronghorn Ranch Parkway there is, and I don't know the exact footage, but is approximately a mile long. In somewhere in that neighborhood, I'm going to say. I don't know the exact. In the plan that you turned into the city, if all these properties were to be developed, how many actual accesses onto the parkway would there be?
We are proposing
I guess the question would be, is there basically one for each of the 4 parcels, and then the commercial, we don't know what that would be yet?
We're proposing 4 that are at the existing median breaks, and then we would be proposing 2 that would be right in, right out only. So there are existing median breaks on Pronghorn now, and we would be utilizing those where the breaks are at.
Not being a traffic engineer by any means, once it's developed into where it will be 4 lanes with turn lanes, what problems could exist or would exist as you come out of these 4 parcels onto the parkway, and in some cases have to, I'm going to say, cross 2 lanes to get to the other 2 lanes that are going out? How much of a problem is that, or how can you control it with what you're doing with the traffic study?
We would have the deceleration lanes for the entries, and then for the exits, we would have adequate sight
Excuse me, can you speak into the mic, please?
Absolutely. We would have right turn and left turn deceleration lanes that would hold the traffic that was turning into the driveways or the site access. And then also, these areas would be designed with adequate sight distance so that you would be able to see vehicles coming towards you as you're exiting the...
So the stop signs that would be used would be basically coming out of the 4 parcels?
That's correct. Stop signs would be used for the single family and for the medium density. For the commercial, depending on the size of development, that could require a traffic signal if it's warranted in the future.
Now, I have a few questions for you. With regard to the deceleration and acceleration lanes, is this prior to the widening of Pronghorn Ranch Parkway?
So they're deceleration lanes. We're not recommending any acceleration lanes. Yes, for the first phase of development, we're proposing left turn and right turn deceleration lanes. And then as the roadway widens to 4 lanes and phase 3, then those would be widened also so that you would keep your deceleration and acceleration lanes, deceleration lanes.
Another question for you, just because I know in the initial presentation it didn't necessarily come up. Curious to know what your traffic survey said about the intersection of Antelope Meadows and Pronghorn Ranch Parkway. I'm aware that you guys are proposing to widen this to 4 lanes, but my biggest concern, and I'm sure it's no secret that I live in Pronghorn Ranch, is that intersection. And it is only technically a 2-way stop, one stop sign basically on Pronghorn Ranch Parkway, and then one stop sign at the clubhouse. I'm concerned about it because, unlike others in that community, I was almost hit at that intersection by someone not paying attention and blowing through that stop sign. So I'd like to know if your survey recommended anything for that intersection, because I'm aware of what another traffic survey has concluded. I'm just curious about yours.
As volumes increase, it could warrant a 4-way stop at that intersection, or ultimately a traffic signal. And that's all based on volume. So as trips are generated, then a 4-way stop or a traffic signal are warranted at that time.
Did your survey actually specifically say that a 4-way stop or signal would be warranted in the future there?
We talked about improvements. I'm not sure. I have recommendations for the intersections. I don't know that I specifically said recommendations for that one, but yes, as they would definitely, the volumes warrant different traffic control measures. So a 4-way stop, or depending on the volumes, a signal could be warranted in the future. Also, for the general plan, Antelope Meadows shows that will eventually be a minor arterial, so that there would definitely be improvements at that time, and then that intersection would need to be reviewed and modified.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the commission of staff or the staff? Go for it.
The reason I'm concerned about the big fiasco we had a few months ago when there was a fire out there, the congestion. And I hope that when they come
Gary, can you speak into the mic a little bit more?
I hope before they come before us again that traffic questions and answers will be made, where we understand the traffic situation more definite. That's my personal request.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I think I saw the size of the traffic study that was turned in. The volume of it is in a normal flow, Mr. Parker. How long does it take your staff and the engineers that the town of Prescott Valley uses to determine their agreement or disagreement or changes that may be made? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I do have a question for Mr. McGuire.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McGuire, your development proposal is not unusual, nor do your proposed renderings for homes look to be out of character for the area. Why do you think your proposal has been aggressively opposed by the Pronghorn Ranch and also those in the Viewpoint community? Do you think there's anything you could have done differently to more adequately soothe the residents' fears about your proposal?
That's a good question. Ever since that first neighborhood meeting, I've asked myself that several times. I think that change is difficult for people. And a lot of the folks never anticipated higher densities here. I guess it might have been better if I would have gone door to door to try to explain what was going on, so I could get the facts out there and the information there for them to see. say hindsight is 20/20, but I don't think my hindsight is any better on how to approach this. I tried to make myself available every way I could. The letters that went out, the 1,000-foot radius, I did everything according to the way the town asked me to do it. Followed the procedure with the notification on all those letters. My name, my phone number, my email address were there. I think I received 3 calls, and they weren't very consequential calls. And I was caught off guard at the first neighborhood meeting to realize there was so much angst about what was going on. We listened to them. I, for my own benefit, chose the zoning category that gave me the most flexibility with the RS, and the general plan category that was the most flexibility, because at that time and at any time you want the most flexibility you can get when you are spending a lot of money on a property and spending a lot of money to develop it. I never intended to do what everyone assumed I was doing, which was high-density apartments. The word rental, as was mentioned before, seems to scare people. I've tried to let everybody know that what we're talking about is very high-quality product. It just does not make sense for someone to develop a property and want it to go to pot. You were told by Vicki the way they have a passion for this product, and I do too. It's a new product that hasn't been offered out there. It gives great opportunity to people who currently are looking for a leased product, that are saving money to buy a home, or just want that lifestyle where they don't have maintenance of a yard and a house and all those things. These are single-family detached homes, single story. They're just closer together. And they're in a community feel where it's normally gated. I think they indicated to me that they would probably gate this. Private streets, their own recreational amenities that she described, which are fabulous. And these are going to be professionals. These are going to be people who are upstanding citizens. I know the fear is, and I heard, government subsidized housing and all that. It just isn't logical. That's not going to happen. This will be, everything we do in here will be high quality. In order for me to be able to make a profit, I need to be able to sell this land at a price that allows me to buy the land. And that price demands that the home builders, whether they be for a leased product or for sale product, are able to build quality product that they can, again, make a profit on. So if you just think logically about it, it's going to be a very high-quality product. I'm vested in this area. I have 5 grown children, adult children with families that live in this area, up Paquito Valley Road. I've got another one that's building a house up Paquito Valley Road. I'm here a lot. My family's here. So I want to see what's best for the town of Prescott Valley. I want to see what's best for this property. And I truly believe that what we are proposing is absolutely appropriate land use. And that's what I want to focus on most, is we're talking about appropriate land use and making the transitions that we're talking about from a major roadway, highway, and commercial to an existing single-family development. I don't know how you could do it better than this. We are buffering the existing single-family detached homes with our own single-family detached homes. And the medium density is appropriate according to the general plan and according to all planning principles for this type of a location. We are going to address all the traffic concerns. We have turned in our traffic impact analysis. The town will require us to make the improvements at the appropriate time for the widening of the parkway and for other intersection improvements. We've identified, regardless of what the first phase is, I was assuming a single-family detached, but if Kevin is that anxious, we'll go with that too. But the very first phase, we'll have to make those improvements to the existing poor conditions there are there at the intersection of Viewpoint 89A. We get it. So we are committed to make this as high quality as possible. It's in our best interest. It's the town's best interest. And we have all the consultants in line to be able to do all this appropriately. I mentioned before in the neighborhood meetings, I've talked to all the major builders here. All have an interest in the single-family detached parcels. And I think it'll be a great addition to the town, and we look forward to working with you to bring it to fruition.
On the commercial property, Mr. McGuire, do you anticipate nibbles on in terms of retailers and so forth coming in after homes are built, or have you actually received any nibbles on that right now?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regard to the commercial, during the due diligence, I talked to all the grocers around and tried to gauge what level of interest there might be, because that's really, I think, a need for this area. We need a grocery store here. My original submittal cut down the commercial from 24 to 11 acres because, honestly, with all the rest of the commercial there, I don't see there being a need for that much commercial. But again, as a result of the neighborhood concerns, they were concerned with the amount of multifamily. So instead of adding another 11 acres from the commercial piece into more multifamily, I said, let's just leave that alone for now. We'll see what happens there. But all the grocers have told me we need more rooftops. You're almost there. There's a great draw from this area, from not only from the adjacent neighborhoods, but from the north and the northeast with everything in the county. And there's a lot of traffic by this area, and a lot of people go past this to go to the other locations for retail and other things. So I'm hoping, and this will probably take 5 years or so, but as this develops and there are more rooftops out there, our goal is to get a grocery store there as soon as possible with a few pads out in front, and then we'll decide what happens with the commercial beyond that in the future. But I think that this will be a boon to the area. Again, the infrastructure is there, ready for us. The town prepared for this. The town's master planning prepared for this kind of density because the capacity is there. The wastewater treatment plant is large enough to handle this. The sewer lines are large enough to handle this kind of density. The water lines are there. Everything is there, primed for what we're proposing.
Thank you. Any other questions of the Commission? I do have a question for staff. So just kind of a general timeline. So going from here, when would we expect potentially to see any of this in the future?
I think it's anticipated based on this meeting and the responsiveness. You have to probably first rezone, do the R1L10 zoning and approve the preliminary development plans, those amended plans, as a first step, perhaps in December meeting.
Okay.
That's and then work on the other ones. As we get more detail, we can go back on the other 2 parcels, and maybe when we have more information on those, we feel the first stage is pretty well in place.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I want to take this opportunity to, thank you, Joe, and thank staff for all your hard work on this presentation. And I know it's been very informative, and I appreciate you taking the time to definitely answer all our questions here this evening. Also, the same goes for you, Mr. McGuire, and all your representatives. We appreciate you coming out this evening and giving us an overview of your proposal. We greatly appreciate it. I do want to state that to anybody listening, and those out in the audience, if you have any questions or comments about what has been presented here this evening, I would encourage you to contact the community development and or the applicant directly. And I want to give you the phone numbers for Mr. McGuire and the community development department. So for community development, the phone number is 928-759-3050. Again, 928-759-3050. For Mr. McGuire, his phone number is 602-841-1945. Hopefully I got that correct. Again, that's 602-841-1945. I would provide email addresses, but I know that can get a little complicated, during a meeting. So definitely call. And I know we do have community development has a general email box, and I know Mr. McGuire can definitely provide his email address as well. But if you do have any questions or comments, definitely please give community development or the applicant a call. I do also want to take this opportunity to thank the Fire Marshal, Rick Chase, for being here this evening, and I know we also had some officers here, and I just want to thank them publicly for also being here. At this point in time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the work-study portion of our meeting. We'll then also take about a 5 to 10 minute break to allow us to
Adjourn.
All right. Is there a second?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.